welcome to the Coug Cast, episode 1. Um, I am your host here, followed by my co-hosts. My name is Alec. Emiliano, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Emiliano De La Rosa.
And I'm Jake.
Hi, I'm Marvin.
Marvin, you sound so dim.
Brighten up.
Anyhow, these are my fellow hosts here. So kind of giving off a little structure here. So every Tuesday we're gonna be having the Coug Cast. It's gonna be going over news, local news or WSU news, economics, business, and kind of just school stuff. And then Thursdays we will be hosting the Wazoo Experience, and that'll be more like life experience or life oriented and kind of like a college experience type vibe. So 2 different audiences, one left Twix, one right Twix.
And we are the Entrepreneurship Club. Just wanted to mention that.
Oh yes, Entrepreneurship Club, hosted by Entrepreneurship Club. Anyhow, so we're gonna start kicking off here with some recent local news. So recently, I'm pretty sure if you haven't heard by now, Whitman County is back to phase 2. What do you guys think about that?
Marvin says yes. Phase 2, let's see. I think there was only 2 or 3 counties in all of Washington that got put back.
Yeah, I believe so.
Whitman was one of them. And I think it's solely because Whitman has such a low population that the fact that there's people who have COVID, it just makes it look a lot bigger, even though that there's not that many people.
Can you guys explain what is phase 2 for those who don't understand what is phase 2?
Yeah. Yeah, go for it, Amanda.
I pulled a list right here. So phase 2, basically, you start to continue staying at home, and you can't be in gatherings of more than 5 people. There's limited non-essential travel, but basically it allows for a lot of more businesses to be open, such as retail, office-based restaurants, and barbers. So that's pretty cool for some of the businesses to be back in business.
Nice. And so, do you also have the phase 3 with you as well? Could you read that off or no?
Yeah, I have it right here. So basically, it expands it a little bit more. So recreational sports, the groups are capped at 50 people. So that's the same for gatherings. Gatherings could be no more than 50 people. Non-essential travel basically resumes. Restaurants can operate at 75% capacity, with the tables being no bigger of parties of 10. Bars under 25% capacity, gyms under 50% capacity, as long as with movie theaters as well. But that also opens up libraries, museums, and all other businesses, such as nightclubs, I guess. But yeah, businesses that have people more than 50 people.
Gotcha.
And so basically, if I'm hearing it right, phase 3 is more open than phase 2. So if we went back to phase 2, that's like a step backwards, basically.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. The goal would be stage 4 safely.
Marvin, do you have something to say?
Oh my God, I was muted. So my question is, what is phase 1? What are the things that the people in Pullman do, and then we go back to phase 1? What happens there in phase 1?
Well, we're gonna hope we don't go back to phase 1, because that would be really, really crappy. Me personally, I don't want to go back to phase 1. I want to go out to eat and stuff like that. That would suck. So going back to phase 2 is still really crappy as well, because the rest of the state is in phase 3 right now. So it's crappy, and less gatherings and everything. It's not a good deal. And with that though, all Washington adults are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine starting April 15th. So go ahead and get that if you want. Of course, it would help out with the whole phase thing, but go ahead and get that. Also, going into the fall, is the vaccine going to be mandatory for college students? I don't know about this one.
I just want to add on for the vaccine. You don't have to wait until April 15. I got mine last Saturday at SEL. You can go ahead and if you're a WSU student, you can go to the rec and get your vaccine. You just need to enroll it online through, I think it's my WSU portal, and then you can enroll it there to get your vaccine at the rec. I think at the rec they give Pfizer first dose, and then 3 weeks later the second dose. I got mine in SEL first dose on last Saturday, and then May 1st will be my second dose back in SEL.
Yeah, and then so we can start, like, students can start getting their vaccines pretty much right now, if not in 2 days. And the big question is, what is going to be the required status for vaccines for fall, for going to school in the fall? Are students going to be required or mandated to have vaccines, or is it going to be optional? Like, where is the freedom? Where does the freedom lie, and how does that play around with like the legalities of the situation? What are you guys' thoughts?
Well, knowing the university, like overall, like right now, and going back to last spring, like when this whole thing went down, like the university was very, very like strict on things, and they even not are now like today. And I think they're gonna require 100%, like for at least in-person classes, gonna have to require some sort of vaccine validation there. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation because I do know that there could be some difficulties for a state school, a state public school, as Washington State University is a public school. There could be some difficulties getting a legal mandate on a vaccine over the students, because that is breaking a lot of rights that are afforded to students who attend public state schools. I know it's different if you attend a private school. If you attended a private school, you give up a lot of your rights and you give up a lot of your freedoms to the private institution, and they can have a lot more say about what you have to do or what you can and cannot do. So I think it's interesting because WSU is a state school that maybe there's the legal grounds aren't as sturdy. Maybe they don't have as much groundway to or headway to force students to have a vaccine, because it is quite unconstitutional in some ways, and that's a state school.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Also, I just got an email like 5 minutes ago from my advisor, and then my advisor said like, "Hey, this is a Google Doc where if you want to enroll into fall in-person class, please put in your name." And then I just put in my name, and I saw some of my friends put in their name. So I'm not sure if vaccine is 100% like required to when if we go into fall, but that's the big question right there. So I just want to know, like, what are you guys' thoughts on getting a vaccine? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing?
I mean, me personally, like this is just my opinion. I mean, I don't really see it any different than like a flu shot or anything like that. But I'd say yes, it is a good thing just for the sake of going back to in person. Like not necessarily like you might get sick for a couple days and there's a bunch of anti-vaxxers or whatever. But I definitely do think like the vaccine is good for progressing back to in person, and I'm pretty sure that's a goal for a lot of people.
What about Johnson and Johnson? I saw the news today about the blood clot. Like 6.8 million people had the blood clot. So would that, I don't know, maybe other companies or other vaccines have a blood clot or something side effect? Because when I got mine, I had like it's been 3 days or 4 days. I still have like that small part where, like the small part right below where I got the injection, it's like a little bit red and still a little bit itchy. but to me, I think that's fine. I think it's just a small allergic reaction. But what are you guys' thoughts on blood clots, or what are the other side effects that you guys would think will happen?
So I think if I can recall correctly, the what the Johnson and Johnson vaccine with the blood clots, I think it was that the patients who had those issues or who had any sort of issues at all, they experienced them like a week to 2 weeks after the vaccine. So potentially like those adverse effects that you might face, like again, very, very low chance, but if you do face those types of effects, it could take like a week or two for you to actually for that to hit you or affect you. Personally, I think that it's very unlikely overall. Is the Johnson and Johnson one like it has a bad reputation right now, especially since it just got paused for people like giving it out, like they've paused that. So I think it has a bad rep, but again, I think it's a different type of vaccine because the Pfizer and the Moderna, I believe, are the mRNA vaccines, and they require the multiple dosage shots. So I think they're kind of two different things. And I say overall, it's a good thing to get the vaccine. I just worry about the freedoms of forcing people to get the vaccines. That's my personal like gripe.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Yeah, but vaccine, I, it's a hot debate. I mean, definitely for the fall, that, um, I think that people should at least get it just for the sake of just going back in person. Like I want to go back in person so bad. I mean, online school has been sucky, but at the same time, it has been nice. It's kind of been easier, but that's a whole different topic. And on that, also, if any of you guys are juniors, the junior writing portfolio is due or was due April 11th, but you can still turn it in. You'll just have a hold on your account. So go ahead and get that writing portfolio in. You just only have to turn in 2 essays and then a reflection on each essay and then some basic information. It should only take about like 20 to 30 minutes. And marking today, April 13th, was the last day of our COVID spring break, I guess you could call it. The weird thing that we had this semester replacing spring break. What were you guys' thoughts on that?
So firstly, I'd like to just say that it was pretty whack. I mean, I understand why they did it, but I have a hard time like I have a hard time with the fact that they spread them across, multiple months, and they made it in the middle of the week where, you have homework, and it's been like it's just been annoying, I guess is my take.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like obviously it was necessary, and like there was a lot of good that came out of it because obviously WSU is a pretty big school. But yeah, the fact that it was like in the middle of the week, it just made it feel like it didn't even really happen because you have like a bunch of other things going on.
True.
Yeah, and I also think that it definitely doesn't make a whole lot of sense when like the majority of your student population, I don't even think is in Pullman. Like I think there are a lot of people in Pullman right now, but I know that there's a lot of people who aren't. And so it's like, what does that do to the people who aren't in Pullman? It did nothing. But like the idea that you're slowing down the spread of a virus when people aren't even concentrated in one area, they're spread across the world already. That's the irony that I think is like doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, literally, like people are still holding up in their houses or whatever, and it kind of doesn't really make a different take on it. I mean, I guess maybe if we were in person, having a day off like in the middle of the week would be good because it would be reducing the use of facilities. But yeah, those kind of useless. So anyhow, that wraps it up for our WSU news or local news section. I'll go ahead and have Jake lead into the economic portion.
Yep. So we're just going to start out with I'm going to read some economic news, just some big headliners, not even headliners, but topics. So recently, I guess today actually, CPI data was released. And for those of you who aren't in the business world, CPI stands for Consumer Price Index. and it measures a basket of goods, consumer goods for inflation. So it measures prices and compares prices over time. There's a lot of controversy on if the CPI is even a good indicator of inflation, since there's some claims that it could be rigged by the government or by the Federal Reserve. But basically, the CPI came out for the month, I guess, a month of March, and the inflation is definitely accelerating. So even the CPI, which usually doesn't pick up a lot of inflation that it actually exists, the CPI is starting to factor in a bump up in inflation. So it's a rising concern, and in fact, it's such a rising concern that the Fed announced that they're discontinuing the money supply on reporting the money supply. So M1 is the money supply. For it's very complex in terms of economics, but basically it's like how many dollars are in circulation in like savings or some other aspect. But they're actually discontinuing to display the money supply because it's gotten so out of hand that they don't even want to show people anymore. So they've now discontinued the money supply of M1, which is very interesting. It basically shows us that they don't want us to see how much inflation there really is. They're literally trying to hide inflation by discontinuing reporting the money supply, which is like ridiculous. But that's just one thing. And then we can lead into that, into the economic news, also political and in terms of politics. We have the infrastructure bill, which is 6%, it contains 6% infrastructure and 94% not infrastructure. So I don't know how you can call a bill infrastructure bill and have it be like 94% not infrastructure, but I don't know, that's crazy. Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that is kind of crazy. I mean, driving home, like and even in our roads here in Pullman, like the infrastructure is not very good. I mean, yeah, that could be like a city thing, but having 6% of the bill be infrastructure and 94% of it not, when you're calling it an infrastructure bill, is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of lackluster there. Yeah, it's not looking good.
Yeah, and a part of that is Emiliano, you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it definitely has to be more like transparent. But I feel like the one thing that is kind of like more, or I guess semi-known, is kind of like the push for like electric vehicles. But I feel like other than that, everything else is kind of vague and doesn't really have all the details that the public should know.
Yeah, and additionally, the bill is, well, they're trying to put student loan cancellation in the bill, and so Biden is trying to do that instead of an executive order. He's going to try to put it into the infrastructure bill to cancel a certain number, certain dollar amount of student loans per borrower, or student loan debt per borrower. Are you guys in support of canceling student loan debt? Is it something you support, or do you think it's completely ridiculous?
I mean, as to everything, you gotta look at it as in pros and cons. And in this situation, it definitely has pros and cons. Pros here would be, if you're in college or have borrowed money. Wait, Jake, is it for borrowers in the past that still have student debt, or is it for borrowers that are going to incur student debt? Do you know?
It is for anyone who has a loan that they're still paying. So you could be in school with loans, or you could be out of school still paying loans.
Well, there you go. There's a pro to that. Marvin, you have something?
What happens if the next, like in 2 years, someone wants to go college, but that person has to take up a student loan? Does that person get a free college too?
So based on what the bill is, I mean, it's not looking forward. So future borrowers who have not borrowed today will not benefit from this bill, or from that student debt cancellation. So that is a very controversial part, because it's very unfair to the people of the future who are going to borrow loans, and it kind of only solves the problem temporarily, I guess you could say, because it's not the root of the problem, right? It's the symptom of the problem.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because like I feel like this like situation of like canceling student loan debt is really just like it really has like a temporary like point of view right now. Like it's just focusing on students that have taken out loans previously and right now. But obviously, like I feel like that's going to cause a lot more problems in the future because it's not focusing on people that are going to be paying for college in the near future, which would probably include higher tuition costs. So I feel like there has to be like a focus more into like how you said, Jake, like the main problem of like student debt. And I don't think it has to do with paying it off. It has to do with looking into more of like the systems that contribute to like the staggering amount of student debt.
Yeah, and kind of going off that, I mean, there you have it. I mean, you have the pro right there. Like if you know are thinking about having student loans or have had student loans, you know, go ahead and use it up. But at the same time, what going off of what Emiliano was saying is that it definitely is going to inflate like the costs of college. I mean, even every year, what is it like? I think it's a certain percent, like 4% of tuition increase. Like colleges increase their tuition every year, and even like this year with COVID and everything, you know, WSU increased their tuition, which was something I did not support with COVID and everything. That was kind of crappy. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely gonna inflate, you know, college costs, and it's definitely somewhat going to devalue the, you know, the education that you're getting, because you know you're going in and you know you're having to pay for college and you have to put in hard work. But now people are going to go in like, oh, I can, you know, go into college and get $50,000 off. Like let's do it. Let's top in, you know, like. But yeah, it's
and that's a good point, because like the idea that you could go to college, let's be honest, how long is it going to take for this bill to get passed, right? Like this stuff takes time, so it's not like it's going to get passed today or tomorrow. It could take some time, and so knowing that, like, people might be able to squeeze in, get to college. Like it might increase the demand to go to college, right? If you know that you're going to be able to go to college for, you know, a year paid for, basically. It's like a free year. It's like a buy one get one free. Go to college for 3 years, get one free. If people know that, it's going to increase the demand for college, which is going to shoot up, you know, college competitiveness, which is already an issue. It's going to deflate the value of having a degree, which is again already an issue. It's going to push more people into the education system, pushing people away from going into the workforce and getting jobs right away. It's going to inflate the student loan bubble. So I actually think it's ironic, because canceling student debt to a degree might just make the problem worse in the long run.
Yeah, I totally 100% agree with everything you just said, Jake. Like, yeah, it's definitely has like a couple pros, but for this, I think it has more cons. Oh, there's my phone. Has more cons than pros in this situation.
Absolutely. And knowing that, you know, how are we going to pay for college? Are we going to get our student loans somewhat canceled, or are they are you know, what do we do? Like, how are we going to pay for our school? I would say most people have a plan, but a lot of people aren't very sound with their money. But that's when it comes into, like, you know, should you start investing? Where should you start investing? Those types of questions. And so I know that we all dabble with investments and stocks or cryptocurrencies or other types of assets, and I'm just curious, you know, what are your guys' portfolios looking like? Like, any breakdown, a quick, if you guys want to give a quick breakdown of your portfolios, just let us know.
I can do that. So I started investing somewhere in January, before the big market correction. During the market correction, I kind of lost a little bit. So my portfolio right now is like, I would say 25% is for day trading, like just day trade options. And then the 75%, inside the 75%, I would say 60% of it I'm in stocks, 30% of it or 35% I'm in crypto, 5% is just my buying power. in case I want to buy something or I sold something, and then that's my buying power over there. So right now the market is at all-time high. As the S&P 500 is like, for the past 2 weeks, I think, it's been growing up and up and up. So it's like an all-time high. Apple, Tesla are all going up. So if you want to invest right now, just be careful of like the next drop. It might happen anytime soon. I don't know when it will happen. I'm not a person who controls the market, but it might happen. And I'm gonna let Emiliano take over right now.
Yeah, so I started investing quite a while ago, like in 2019. This would be like my second year doing it. I started like right after I got out of high school. My first portfolio was in Robinhood, pretty much like where everybody kind of goes to when they start off, 'cause it's pretty simple. And from there, I had a job that was contributing to my 401k, so that kind of stacked up over time too. But then I would say I got into cryptocurrencies like in 2020. I started researching into that. So I would say my portfolio is probably like 20% day trading, and probably split pretty evenly in between my like stocks for my 401k and my Robinhood. But I would say it's like 30, like another 30% for crypto. But I've been really interested in crypto because I feel like I've been contributing more to crypto now than stocks, because it just has so many more like promising outlooks to it for like the technologies that are coming up. Because it's not just like when people say cryptocurrency, they think Bitcoin, but in reality, it's a whole network of technology that's really changing industries in various parts of different sectors. So yeah, I would say right now the thing to look for would be cryptocurrencies, because a lot of stocks right now, how you said, Marvin, everything's pretty much at an all-time high. And the thing that people don't really understand is that when people look at like a big index like the S&P 500, they don't understand like that it's being heavily weighed with these companies that are at all-time highs, like how you said, Tesla and Google. And that kind of like takes away the true value of what it really should be right now, because a lot of other stocks still haven't recovered from the drop of like March 2020.
I would like to add on cryptocurrency. It's like the big ones, like for example, Bitcoin, Ethereum, like ETH and ETC, all this, and Dodge especially, all this made me like a lot of, like I increased my portfolio today, investment like a lot today. So cryptocurrency today, it's pretty good as well.
Yeah, kind of going off what these guys are saying. Quick disclaimer: we are not your financial and investment advisors here. We're just going off of what we're invested in. Always have to disclaim that in financial stuff. But for me, I started back when I was in high school. Started off with Robinhood and just did stocks, bought a couple stocks here and there. I'm still in Robinhood, 99% stocks, 1% crypto, just because I haven't really studied up on crypto, and I probably should do that because I've been hearing it's been, rising up really, really big, and there's been some promises for the future. So crypto is definitely going to be the way to go here soon. But yeah, I just got, some recovery, some tech, and for stocks, and yeah, definitely should be involved with it, as investing has never been easier and it's being normalized every day.
Yeah, and for myself, I am mixed between a few different stocks, a few different mutual funds, ETFs, then a basket of, I'd call it like a basket of cryptos. I recently went a lot heavier into cryptos, but I have a very particular outlook on cryptos. In my own personal opinion, I'm quite sinister of most cryptos, including Bitcoin, Like if we want to talk about like Bitcoin, or if we're bullish or bearish, I'm very bearish on Bitcoin. I would love to. We can have future conversations about this at later dates, and really go into depth, kind of like having a conversation or even a debate about the Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies and like what makes them valuable. But I'm definitely bearish on Bitcoin overall, like macro. Like I'm on a macro level, I'm bearish on Bitcoin, and I believe that it's near its all-time highs, and I think it can go up to 70 or 80,000. I think that that's going to be pretty much its shorter term top. It might have a bigger swing in the future, but I'm very bearish on Bitcoin overall. I think there's value in other cryptocurrencies, a lot of the altcoins and a lot of the cheaper coins that are currently more at a better valuation. I think Bitcoin is completely overvalued. So I'm total bear on Bitcoin. I'm just curious, is anyone else bearish or bullish on Bitcoin?
Definitely bearish. I mean, it's gone up quite a bit recently, but in the long run, it's people are expecting it to go to $100,000. So it could be a long-term investment, but I know there's people out there that are definitely bullish on it. But for me, it's definitely bearish.
I would say that I'm bullish on it. Obviously not like anything exaggerated, because yeah, there's going to be some strong pullbacks because it's very volatile still in its nature. But I feel like with the adoption of all like these big businesses and corporations are buying large amounts of crypto, it's like depleting its supply, which is kind of like its main factor driving up the price. But yeah, I'm bearish in the fact that a lot of these other cryptocurrencies, like such as Ethereum, for example, are going to end up being a threat to it, because there's a lot of other cryptocurrencies that can kind of like mimic Bitcoin's use of payments and things like that.
Yeah, I think I agree to Emiliano as well. So in my opinion, I'm bullish on Bitcoin because, like he said, corporations are starting to buy Bitcoin, and it's like one of the most stable cryptocurrency out there. Like for example, if I say Dogecoin, someone would tweet about Dogecoin saying Doge literally on the moon, and next thing you know, boom, Dogecoin price go up. So it's like, in my opinion, Bitcoin is like one of the most stable one out there.
I would completely disagree because Elon Musk does the same thing with, well, he does it for Dogecoin and he does it for Bitcoin. So it doesn't actually matter what crypto it is. All of them are extremely volatile, including Bitcoin. Now I understand that there's, been a soft spot between 50,000, 60,000, 50,000, 60,000 over the past, couple months. So it seems like it's starting to become more like less volatile. But at the end of the day, Tesla can do something or Elon Musk can tweet something and it's going to jack Bitcoin's price up. So when you really look at the viability of using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange or as money, it makes absolutely no sense that you would actually use Bitcoin for that. And it's not a store of value, in my opinion.
I just want to throw in something real quick because we're talking about like cryptocurrencies being like completely unstable, but there's actually some cryptocurrencies that like aim to be stable. They're called stable coins. Example would be Tether. It stays at $1 exact pretty much all the time, and if it does move, it's literally like fractions of a percent. And the good thing about a lot of these cryptos is that they could be staked, which is basically they're just in a way like given to its network of that respective cryptocurrency, and they accumulate interest over time.
That's a good point. There definitely are the stable coins like Tether and coins that have appreciation on them. Those are great coins, but I'll be honest, not many people invest in those coins. All the craze is behind a coin like Bitcoin, and that coin doesn't have any of those attributes. It's not a 1-to-1. It's not backed by gold, although there is a crypto backed by gold. But the problem is that Bitcoin, which is the one that pretty much has all the money in it, like a ton more than I would say most of them. That one doesn't, it's not a very consistent. I don't know anyone who owns Tether. Like, why would you own Tether? If you own Tether, you own $1. If you own $1, you own a depreciating asset, or not even. It's just depreciating. Your dollars are depreciating. So if you own a Tether, you're losing money. Like, I don't know anyone who would own that. It's the same thing as owning $1, and we all know we don't want to own dollars. So that's kind of my take on that.
Yeah, overall, crypto, it's a hot take. I mean, a lot of people have different opinions on it, but crypto it's definitely gonna be going somewhere in the future. And stocks, I've always been here, but crypto, there's definitely a look on it.
I just want to add on, since we're talking so much about like investments and stuff, like a lot of people think like investing isn't for them because they think it's too expensive, but it's become like really easy to actually get started in it, especially now with like so much information out on the internet. And like, for example, like YouTube, like if there's something you don't understand, you can YouTube it. But I feel like that's one of like the misconceptions, that people don't have enough money. But it's like how you said, Jake, you don't want to own $1 because whatever like cash you own, it's obviously depreciating, especially now more than ever that there's a lot of money being printed out like by the government. It's like it's better to have some sort of asset than have $1 or have nothing.
Oh yeah, definitely. Going off that, Emiliano, like having assets is probably one of the like most important things, because you definitely don't want. I mean, saving money is always good, but you definitely want to have your money working for you and not against you, in a form of depreciating. And as always, there's always going to be inflation. Things are going to be constantly depreciating. So putting your money into investments or any other form of assets is definitely a good thing to do. And now, like a time like none other, investing has been simplified. Pick up an app, make an account, and just go on with it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's definitely a lot easier today than it's ever been. I will admit though, in terms of like, it's a gamble, right? In the stock market, at least, it's known that most traders, anyone who's trading, loses money. That's a known saying, right? So it's you've got to definitely have a strategy, and you got to have some sort of understanding. And it may be luck, it may not be luck, but that's where it can get complicated, in my opinion. Is like, what's your strategy? And I think that's where people get bogged down with it, because it's easy today to start, to create an app and launch Robinhood and start investing, but it can be really hard to know what's a safe place to put your money in. And we could work on, giving some recommendations in the future. Again, not financial advice per se, but our recommendations of our personal investments. We can talk about that more in the future. And I also know another challenging part about it is taxes. I'm gonna be honest. I've been trading for like a year or two, but I still don't know what the heck I'm gonna do when I have to like do taxes or something. Like that's got to be complicated.
Yeah, and I just want to point it out there for like the people that aren't aware or don't know, like obviously trading and investing are two totally different things. There's a very fine line in between them. Because like obviously investing is like long term, trying to make your money appreciate over time, and trading is kind of like a day-to-day type of thing where you're trying to make money on almost on a daily basis, and the risk levels involved with the two different things, it's very, very different. So obviously, like I feel like a lot of investors that start out, they're kind of doing more trading than investing, and it's another thing that when people first start out in actually investing, they really need to do some basic research to understand the differences and develop some sort of strategy.
Oh, definitely. I'm going off that. Like me personally, like I started out and like I saw like on the internet like people like trading these like crazy amounts of money and like making like 20K in one day. And I was like, dude, I can like totally do this. And like I started, trading and buying and selling and then playing off emotion. And that is like one of the one things that you're not supposed to do in investing, stocks, whatever, is to play off emotion, because I mean, you will lose a lot of money. I mean, take it for granted. I have personally. And you got to be willing to lose the money when you put it in to invest. If you're not willing to lose the money, then you shouldn't invest. Like, things are gonna happen. You know, there's been like 3 or 4 market crashes like recently, and I've lost quite a bit of money. But you know, like they say, time in hands, and after a crash, things go up. So
Yeah, and definitely you got to be ready to lose that money, because you got to be ready to go to zero, basically. So in all my crypto investments, I'm ready to go to zero. I'm ready for cryptocurrency to fall on its head, because I don't care, right? So I don't care if all my investments go to zero. It does not bother me. And additionally, for your stocks, right, it's very macro. Like, everything's, if you're investing, it's all about the macro, right? If you're trading, day, swing trades or day trading, it's all about the micro. If you're investing, it's all about the macro. And so you got to understand the macro impacts of the industry that you're investing in, or the companies in the industries that you're investing in, and where is the economy at, and what's going to benefit from the economy, what's not going to benefit. So those are all things to keep in mind. And as we go on this podcast in future episodes, we can build on that and explain some of these things, and talk more about our own personal investments, things that have gone well, things that haven't. But for the last part of our podcast for today, let's talk about going forward to the future at WCU for next school year, so in the fall of 2021. What do we think? Do we think it's going to be in person? Do we think it's going to be online? Obviously, it's probably going to be some sort of hybrid, but what do we want to see? Like, Marvin, what do you want to see?
Personally, I would prefer in person, because we pay so much. We're in college. I want to get the full experience of the college life, the college, like everyone around college, like build my network, meet you guys in person, have a club meeting, and do a bunch of cool stuff instead of having online. Although we get to meet through Zoom, but there's no human interaction over there. It's just virtual.
Yeah, I agree. I really want it to be like all in person too, but I feel like unfortunately it's going to be heavily hybrid starting off, at least in the beginning once everybody's getting their vaccinations. But I feel like there's going to be like a heavy hybrid sort of system where there's going to be like, at least it's going to be split in between online classes and physical classes. But in my personal opinion, I feel like that the thing, hybrid classes, it's going to be a thing to stay. I feel like most colleges are going to keep it like that, at least for a couple of years, and if not decades, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I definitely, of course, want to see it in person. I think we all want to see it in person. I think there's probably very few people who don't want to see it in person. But I think it's going to be hybrid, right? It's going to be like, if your class is pretty small, you're going to be in person. Maybe you're only in person a few days a week, or and then for all the lectures of 100 people and more, it's going to be online for the most part, unless you have like a lab that meets, then that could be in person. I think there's going to be a lot of rules and strict regulations for things like mask wearing, which is, I guess, pretty normal. Although there's been studies that have shown that mask wearing doesn't do that much. So that's one thing. But I think at this point, it's kind of like politically correct to wear a mask. So I guess, there's going to be a lot of rules and regulations behind mask wearing and dining hall restrictions, and like I can't even imagine the dining halls anymore. That just blows my mind.
Yeah, literally in spring 2020, that was my first semester, so we're on our third now. So I basically have been online for like the greater part of my entire college experience. So it's like I've never even gotten to experience it like fully or normally, I guess you could say. So that's been one of the most unfortunate things on my end.
Dang! Oh my gosh, Amelia, I feel so bad. Holy crap! That's horrible. That's terrible.
Yeah, I was literally in Poland for 3 months, and then everything went down straight back home, and it's been online since. So it's like I don't even remember how it was to be in person, because I literally only attended like a couple of dozen classes, and that was it.
Man, I remember when it like first like went down, like COVID happening, I was still in my dorm and everything, and just like how like whenever like we first heard of like COVID, it was like starting out in China or whatever, and we're like, oh, that's no, like that's all fake, it's not gonna be a big deal. And then a couple cases start up in Seattle, and then we're like, oh crap. And then a couple cases came closer. And then eventually there was a case in one of the dorms freshman year. Jake, I think, do you know by any chance what dorm it was?
Oh, I cannot remember. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
Yeah. There was a freaking COVID case in one of the dorms, and everyone was like, "Oh crap, things are going down." And then whenever somebody would cough, everyone would like look at it weird. But yeah, like it's yeah.
I just remember the beginning of it. Like, it was funny because I think it was Marvin who knew the person, like, there, because the person who like first was, contracted COVID, at least in terms of like they got tested for it. They were in Amazon, I believe was the company. They were working for Amazon or something. And I thought Marvin had some sort of connection. Marvin, is that true?
Yeah, I know the person. Like my friend's friend who works in Amazon had COVID, so that was like really early of the year last year.
Yeah, that's crazy. And yeah, it was weird the whole way it went down. I'm curious because we were all in dorms except for Marvin. I don't think Marvin was in a dorm, but I was in a dorm. Alec, you said you were in a dorm. Emiliano, it was your first semester, so I'm assuming you were in a dorm.
Yeah, I was staying at Rogers.
Oh shoot, I was in Rogers too.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, like I was like, I don't know, I would go down to like the store. I totally forgot the name because I don't even remember it anymore. But like I remember there was like some sort of like flu wave that went around, and then like nobody thought anything about it because that's like when COVID was barely even a topic. But I feel like it was definitely something that happened earlier before people realized it.
Dude,
Bro, I got it bad. I got it bad. I had a chest injury from like a cold or something. Or I don't know what it was. Right, could have been COVID, I guess. But I had something, some type of virus or something at the beginning of January, between February, and it messed me up, man. I coughed so hard that I like tore a muscle in my chest. Like I swear.
Yeah, like honestly, the whole thing was like something out of a movie. It was like, what are the zombie movies? I can't remember any of the top of my head, but literally straight up something out of like an apocalypse movie. Like I remember very vividly everything like going down, and like, oh goodness, it's here now. Everyone, it's here. Like,
Bro, it makes me like think because I never like we didn't wear masks at first, and like masks weren't really normal. Like no one had masks, right? No one had them. So like you had to wear like bandanas and like other random cloth items to like make a mask out of. And I just remember like I came back to Pullman in like April something to move out of my dorm. Because I'm curious, like, did you guys move out of your dorms like right away, or did you come back?
oh, I stayed until the end. I was like, dang it, I'm staying in my dorm. It's been a heck of a time. Like I'm here, like I'm in college. Like I don't want to leave. Like I stayed until they kicked us out and had to move out.
Yeah, for me it was like a slow process because I was like, no, there's no way I'm leaving because I just got here and this is like my first semester. No way in the world I'm gonna leave. But then like my girlfriend ended up visiting me right before spring break, and she ended up convincing me to go back home like in the matter of like 3 days. And I think it was just honestly it was a good decision because I would have been there like basically all alone. The dorms like 10% occupancy and probably more scared than happy to be home because of COVID being so close to me in all the dorms.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was when I came back to move out of my dorm in Rogers, I came back in like middle of April or something, and I just remember it was so dead. Like there was no one there. And I was like, I slept there that night because I drove, right? So I drove and I didn't want to do the whole thing in one day. So I slept in my dorm for one final night in the middle of April when no one was there. And it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was scary. Like it was I honestly did not feel comfortable. I was like, this is kind of creepy. I don't like it. And it was just a weird it was a weird feeling to sleep in a dorm that no one was in and it was just all the vibes were off. And basically, like, it was weird because at that point I didn't even wear a mask. Like, I wasn't wearing a mask, and no one was really wearing masks still. It was like April. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal if you didn't wear a mask. But it was just so weird to me, like seeing the dorm completely empty in April, and I just slept there. It was so creepy. I didn't like it. I was like, get me out of here.
Yeah, I did the same thing, Jake. Like, I stayed like there until the end, and like everyone was like already moved out, and I came back for a couple days so when I get away from home. But it was really weird. Like, I remember going down to like the food halls or whatever, and you had like they gave you like brown bags with your food.
Bro, I
it was
know.
like a table. Like,
I know what you're talking about, because I tried to go to a dining hall when I came back, and I had to walk all the way to like North Side, or like, I don't know, somewhere. Like, none of the little markets were open, but I know what you're talking about. They were doing brown bags, like it's lunch in like elementary school.
It was a ghost town, and like there was like maybe a couple people that would go down and get food, but overall it was beginning COVID to now it's online school. I just really hope it just ends, just get it over with, end this pandemic so we can go back in person and have, you know, the time of our lives in college, because that's what we're here for, and also education, number one. But yes, COVID needs to go away. And with that, eventually we're gonna have to go away as well. And that's gonna come to our conclusion here. Sorry, but if you're still awake, if you're still listening, thank you for tuning in to our first episode of our podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the company. Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Any last words from anyone?
Yeah, tune in to the Wazoo Experience on Thursdays. This Thursday. That's it. That's all we got.